Brilliance Audio presents Tell Me by Anne Frasier. Performed by Aaron Bennett. 4 female hikers walked single file along the narrow, foot-worn Pacific Crest Trail in Southern California, with Emerson the last in line. The air was cold, but the sun was hot. From somewhere, an invisible bird called. The wind sounded hollow, with a repetitious pulse that increased, then fell away, increased, fell away. Emerson imagined a giant crater. In her mind, she pictured the pulse as a dark, swirling cloud inside the crater's vast space. At times, the sound of the wind was almost funny, like a little kid under a sheet making ghost noises. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Her younger sister would do that very thing, trying to scare her. Emerson would pretend to be afraid, and her sister would laugh. Someone once told her sound could actually physically hurt a person. She wondered if it was true. It might be a lie. It was something called infrasound intrusion. But she was 15, not a kid anymore. Definitely old enough to know adults couldn't always be trusted to tell the truth. Everybody lied, especially her mother. Although she was an unwilling participant in the hike, Emerson couldn't ignore her emotional response to her surroundings. Several times already, at the vision of deep canyons and evergreen trees as tall as some of the buildings in downtown LA, she'd felt a blossoming in her chest at the wonder of it all. That blue, blue sky with no hint of clouds. The narrow trails and turns that brought her face to face with wind that tugged her long hair straight up, then slapped it back in her face. Steep and wild paths, clear streams, small animals scurrying away. For the most part, the 4 of them walked in silence, occasionally passing through areas where fires had left charred tree trunks that still smelled like smoke, even though the woman leading the hike told them the fire had been over a year ago. Among the acres of dead trees, blooming flowers of yellow and purple danced on delicate stems that somehow withstood the wind. But the beauty of the trail did nothing to change Emerson's resentment. So what if she was addicted to her phone? There were a lot worse things she could be addicted to. She'd never even tried anything like ecstasy or meth or LSD, when almost everybody her age had dabbled in at least one of them. Her parents should have been glad she was such a good kid. "Think of it as a vacation," her mother had said. As the glossy brochure stated, staying at Kaleidoscope was like an upscale vacation. She and the other guests had good food, great food, really, gourmet stuff cooked by some famous chef. There was a pool they could swim in, which was nice, and they could draw and read. But there were no televisions, and they weren't allowed to use any electronic devices. And they had group activities, which Emerson loathed with all the passion her body language could convey. And now, after being on site, locked up, for a week, they had to participate in a 3-day hike, because the big thing at Kaleidoscope was nature. Ta-da! But the place was still a prison, and the hike still felt like discipline.